Good morning, everyone. My name is Eugene Nicandri. I'm chairman of the Economic Development Power Allocation Board. I'd like to welcome the other members of the board, Trustee Dennis Trainer and Andrew Silver. I'd also like to welcome Power Authority staff members who are participating by way of video conference call. This is a scheduled board meeting which has been duly noticed as required by the open meetings law of the state of New York. I call the meeting to order by pursuant to EDPAP bylaws, Article 3, Section 2. The first proposal is the adoption of the proposed agenda for July 26th. That's been circulated among the board members. I'd ask for a motion to adopt it unless a member has an amendment.
So moved, Judge.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. The agenda is approved. The next item is the approval of the minutes of our last meeting of May 24th, 2021. If there are no motions to amend the minutes, I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes of May 24th.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, signify by
Aye.
saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are approved. The board members were polled prior to this meeting regarding any conflicts, and there were none, as reported by the secretary. Next item is the Recharge New York Power new, extended, and modified allocations. And I'd recognize Senior Vice President of Clean Energy Solutions, Keith Hayes.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and board members all in attendance today. Today, the board is requested to recommend that the trustees approve contract extensions for 15 allocations of Recharge New York Power to existing customers, to award new allocations of Recharge New York large business retention, large business expansion, and small business and not-for-profit based power to 15 applicants, and approve modifications related to 3 previously approved Recharge New York allocations and/or supplemental commitments. 15 extension applications and 29 new applications were evaluated for this period, all of which were submitted through the state's consolidated funding application system. The applications included power allocation requests from large businesses, small businesses, and not-for-profit entities. As in the past, new applications were evaluated on a competitive basis in consideration of the 12 criteria in the Recharge New York legislation. I won't read through each of the 12 criteria, but some of the key ones include job commitments, capital investment, and an applicant's risk of closure or leaving the state if they are not awarded a Recharge New York power allocation. Prior to today's recommendations, please note that 5.2 megawatts are available to allocate out of 610 megawatts that is set aside for large business retention purposes. 15.7 megawatts are available to allocate out of the 200 megawatts that are set aside for large business expansion purposes, and 2.7 megawatts are available to allocate out of the 100 megawatts that are set aside for small business and not-for-profit purposes. Today's recommendations consist of the following: 15 extension allocations totaling 3.8 megawatts and supporting more than 2,050 jobs, 3 large business retention allocations totaling 4.2 megawatts and supporting the retention of more than 180 jobs, 5 large business expansion allocations totaling 15.7 megawatts and supporting the creation of 380 new jobs, and 8 new small business and not-for-profit based allocations totaling 1.4 megawatts and supporting more than 1,930 jobs. And lastly, 3 modifications related to previously approved allocations and/or supplemental commitments. If today's recommended allocations are approved, 1 megawatt will remain available to allocate for large business retention purposes. No remaining power will be available to allocate at this time for large business expansion purposes, and 1.3 megawatts will remain available to allocate for small business and not-for-profit purposes. The awarded applicants will be offered Recharge New York contracts for a term of up to 7 years. The contract has provisions for the partial or complete withdrawal of an allocation if the recipient fails to maintain mutually agreed upon commitments relating to, again, among other things, such as employment, power utilization, and capital investment. In summary, the board is being asked today to recommend that the trustees approve contract extensions for 15 allocations of Recharge New York Power to existing customers, award 16 new Recharge New York large business retention, large business expansion, and small business and not-for-profit based power allocations, and approve 3 modifications related to previously approved Recharge New York allocations and their supplemental commitments. This item is submitted for your approval. I would be happy to take any of your questions.
Anybody have any questions for Keith?
No,
Dennis? No. Andy? No.
no.
If not, I would ask for a motion to approve the recommendation as found in the materials.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Before we go to the next meeting, Keith, there's some changes in the language for the contracts that, can you just enlighten us a little bit on how that comes about and what's required?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we have been running for the 100 megawatts that are assigned to small business and not-for-profit organizations. We have really been running with virtually nothing to assign there. The legislation allows for up to 100 megawatts for that bucket out of Recharge New York. So the program's made up of 910 megawatts, 455 hydro, 455 megawatts of market power. And then it's broken down into 3 buckets, at least 350 megawatts for business facilities located in NYSEG, National Grid, and RG&E service territories, at least 200 megawatts set aside for the purposes of attracting, expanding, or creating new businesses. And then there's, as I said, up to 100 megawatts for small business and not-for-profit corporations statewide. Small business and not-for-profit corporations bring the most jobs and capital investments, but it has the smallest amount of megawatts, only 100, which has been nearly allocated for several years now, as I just mentioned. So this requires us to hold applications until that small business and not-for-profit power is turned back by other customers, either by their choice or through compliance activities. So we instituted a change in law to shift 50 megawatts of available Recharge New York power from the large business bucket into the small business and not-for-profit bucket, which will now be up to 150 megawatts. This will allow us to continue to make meaningful allocations that return the greatest economic development benefits to the state. And just to give you some statistics, small business and not-for-profit organizations are responsible or have commitments of over 200,000 jobs and $9 billion in capital investment commitments. That's really, it's like nearly half the total jobs and capital commitments under the entire program, but it's only 1/9 of the total program megawatts. So the governor approved that change in statute, and I'd like to thank the governor, also Assemblyman Steve Stern and Senator Sean M. Ryan, who sponsored the bill.
Anybody have any questions of Keith on that subject?
No, Judge.
No, Judge.
Okay. Thanks, Keith. Appreciate it. Isn't there some auditing requirements of these people now too in their contract language?
Yes, on an annual basis, we audit the recipients for job commitments and capital investment, and we have put a temporary pause on that during the pandemic. So on an annual basis, around this time of the year, we would audit all of those businesses to make sure that they're, maintaining their capital investment and job commitments under the program. But again, we put a pause on that as these businesses are struggling. And I think the important point to note here, Judge, is that on a programmatic level, the number of jobs and capital investment commitments far exceed the actual contract commitments. So on an aggregate basis, we're getting more jobs and more capital from these businesses than they actually commit to in their contracts.
Good. Okay. Thanks, Keith.
You're welcome.
Our next meeting is on Monday, September 27th. The Corporate Secretary's office will contact the board members about availability. That's all I have. If there's nothing else from any of the members, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm back, Judge. Sorry.
No problem. We're going to adjourn, Dennis. See you
Okay.
tomorrow.
Very good. Sounds good, Judge. Thank you.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.